everybody, it's me, Ladyada, here at the Adafruit factory. We've got some special guests here today, part of a video series we're doing where we interview cool people and companies in the maker and DIY space. Today, we have, for the first time ever, Velleman. Wow.
Yes.
Well known. You guys are like the original, the OGs of the maker movement. You've been around since 1975.
Yep, correct.
Very old company. And I've got here Kristof and Patrick. Want to introduce each other?
Kristof.
Go ahead, Patrick.
My name is Patrick. I'm Patrick Degrendele, to be complete. I'm CEO from Velleman, USA, based out of Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah. Okay, so you live in Texas?
The correct.
Awesome.
Don't I have the Texas accent?
Yes, it's it's the cowboy hat. I can tell.
Maybe.
So I'm Kristof De Ceuckelaere. I'm the new CEO of the Velleman Group, in fact, located in Belgium, in the headquarters for Velleman.
Yeah.
I'm brand new, I would say, only here in the company at end of February.
Yeah.
So still learning on how what we're doing and how we need to evolve in the future, of course, to survive.
And then to survive. Wow, this is intense.
Survive in the making
This is like
community.
Survivor. Yeah. So there's Velleman USA and there's Velleman Group. So this is actually something I didn't know. So there's what I know of Velleman was like Velleman kits, but there's actually a much bigger company. Can you talk about briefly about the structure?
Yes. Like you're mentioning, we have the Velleman kits that we try to look at the division or a part of us, which is Velleman Projects, where we want to cater to all the maker community and want to have the creativity of the people flow in our products. But separate from that, we still have 3 other activities that we do, mainly in Europe. First activity is what we would call do-it-yourself, so the things you buy in a Lowe's or in a Home Depot, hammers, boxes, tools,
Multimeters.
wires.
So that's a crossover.
Multimeters also, it's kind of a crossover between the two. But even a simple hammer to do some home improvements, we can
You can fix any electronic project with a hammer.
Yes, correct. That's what my father told me. If it doesn't work, hit it, and if it doesn't work again, hit it again.
Okay, good advice. All right.
So that's the second one. Then the third one is what we would call consumer electronics. So we have items like bathroom scales, but we also have items like
Disco lights.
Disco lights. If you want to have a small party at home, we have disco lights. We have some amplifiers. We have some other stuff. We of course have also, and it's also again a mix between the maker community and electronics, is kind of soldering equipment that we have. We have a huge range of soldering equipment that we do. You already talked about the multimeters.
Yeah.
But it goes further than that. We have lights with amplification, so magnifiers inside, so people can see better what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
And we're not only selling that in the maker community, but we also have doctors who buy that, for instance, in their practices.
And we have a cool video that we can show. Because I was going to ask you to name all 14,000 products you sell. But it's actually, we have a video that goes through some of the stuff that you do and also has like really cool video of your warehouse and boxes. I thought we'd play that, and when we get back, we could get into the meat of the matter.
Perfect.
Let's play that
Sounds
video.
like a plan.
Velleman, wholesale and electronics development. With over 40 years of experience, Velleman is a dynamic company that is a pioneer in designing and providing new quality products for either leisure or technical use, while targeting all skill levels, young and old, around the world. Our goods are shipped overseas, and several courier services supply more than 400 containers per year to our Belgian headquarters. The goods are unloaded by our driven employees and included in our structured network of conveyor belts. This process has a high degree of automation and computerization, thanks to our warehouse management system. At the end of this handling, several packages are subjected to our intensive quality control. The other goods are stored in our depot of 15,000 square meters, where our permanent stock of over 16,000 articles is accommodated. Our sales teams located in Spain, France, the Netherlands, Sweden, Poland, and Belgium are providing our customers with the best logistics service, know-how, and after-sales support. After the order is placed, the product is picked in our warehouse. With the due care of over 200 employees, the product is prepared for transportation. Our parcels and pallets are shipped worldwide to a range of 84 countries. Our Velleman brands are showcased in our specially designed showrooms per division. Velite, HQ Power, Perel, Toolland, Projects, and many others. For more info, go to www.velleman.eu. Velleman, Wholesale and Electronics Development.
Okay, we're back. Okay, I gotta ask, where did that logo come from? Because it's an amazing logo. Can you go back to this logo? Look at this.
I will leave that to Patrick.
What's going on here?
That's actually from Mr. Velleman and the co-starter from way back in time. That's their face, back to back.
Oh, that's cool. And what's the square in the middle?
And the square in the middle is like, I don't know how you call it, but it's like a sticky pads where you connect your cables to get your cables fixed to.
What are those like? I know talking about the little like stickers with the notch in them.
Yeah.
I like the brain kind of wave connect. It's a super cool logo.
The brains normally they should reflect heat sinks.
Oh yes, they do look like heat sinks. Good point. All right. Well, they're thinking very hard about their cables. Okay, that's cool. So Velleman is like big. So there's this European like kind of mother company, and then Velleman US. You're now the CEO of the whole thing.
Yes, correct.
Why? What's your thing? What are you going to do?
Well, I was hired, in fact, in trying to see how we can evolve into the future. I think a lot of companies are probably knowing that something is called the digital revolution is coming, and that consumers are acting different than they were doing the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And we need to prepare on that. Also, the way we interact with our customers is changing. The way we interact with our partners, meaning the retailers, is changing. And we need to prepare for the future and make sure that we do the correct decisions or the correct plans to evolve in all the different areas that we are currently playing.
And you are, the maker movement, I think, is part of it. I mean, part of why you're here is because, you are part of this maker movement. The maker movement came after Velleman, so it's kind of cool. You were there beforehand, but now you're kind of co-evolving with it. What are some of the maker products that people might know you for, or some of the things that you guys are developing for the maker community?
Well, I think we have a couple of products that people are knowing us for. I think historically we were all known for the kits. You assemble something.
Yeah, we can look at some photos. Maybe there's this, this is a kit maybe? Is that a kit?
Yeah.
Hold on. There's this, this thing.
Yeah, some kits. And
solder kits.
Solder kit, these went in different flavors, from very simple ones that we call mini kits to more complex ones, and that are also used for doing some other things, and this is for amplification of sound. But we also have relay cards, for instance, that people can solder and do some projects with. So that's where we come from. We are evolving more also in other areas. For instance, we launched, I think, 4 years ago or 5 years ago, our first 3D printer.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Correct.
So we're also trying to evolve more in that area. So here indeed you see, which we are currently still selling, but our first 3D printer.
It's like 80/20. You get in all the bars and you
get
together?
Everything. You have to make everything from scratch. You have to solder everything. So you will spend some time making it working.
This is an open source, but we're talking about that. Is this your first open source hardware project or product?
That was
yeah, pretty much. Which is cool, but it worked out. And you guys,
we sold a bunch of these because we were in fact one of the few companies at that moment in time that sold a 3D printer at a price that was affordable for a lot of people in that community.
Yeah.
And at that moment in time, people were willing in spending the time of a couple of weekends to assemble everything, to make it work, to make it happen and stuff like that. But you see that also evolving. Our latest product that we introduced last year, our mini nano 3D printer, is in fact already an evolution in that part. So if you look, there it is. If you look at that, first of all, it's a small size. It's in fact something like that high, that big.
It looks like 6 inches by 6 inches by 6 inches
build
volume.
Yeah. So it fits on most people's tables or project areas where they're working on. And we sell that even in 2 flavors, meaning you can buy that in a kit form, so you can assemble it yourself, or you can buy it pre-assembled. So for people who don't want to spend the time in assembling it or don't have the knowledge to fully assemble it, they can buy already a pre-assembled area, and then of course, you need some knowledge in how to operate it, but then you can start working on those things.
Okay, so so how many generations of 3D printers have you so far?
This is the third 3D printer that we have, and we are coming out, in fact, at the end of the year with the fourth generator of 3D printing. Okay. And then, in our area, I think we are one of the few in Europe and even in Belgium that are developing that. So that's purely in-house developed with our engineers. And of course, some of them are also even produced in-house.
How many engineers do you guys have in-house?
We have in total, in-house, we have around 6 engineers that we have in normal, I'm going to say there's a normal, that are employees of Velleman.
Yeah.
And then we have 1 engineer who is an independent who works for us also. And they have to spend their time in all the different projects that we are working on.
Wow.
Of course, doing a kind of a kit that we showed before, developing that versus developing a new 3D printer that's
huge.
In general, new 3D printer takes a year to develop. So,
are you guys hiring?
We are indeed. If you're interested.
People watching, if you want to work for Velleman, you can email you.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay,
you can go to our website. Our jobs are there. We're hiring in an interesting area. For the moment, we're even hiring we have also a smart home section for. We're hiring that, and there's also.
And those are not kits; those are finished products.
These are finished products, which are in fact tailored to the professional installer.
Okay.
So we're not positioning these to do-it-yourselfer, but professional installer. If you buy a new house, if you build a new house, so you can put our stuff in, and it's kind of a smart home system that, of course, has the touch panels, has of course the other parts, but that can interact with all these things that are happening as of today in the area with the Internet of Things.
Even in the remodeling business.
Yeah, even in remodeling, if people not want to do complete new house, but some extensions can happen with our smart home solutions.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to this because we're a maker company. How the maker community is kind of growing, and you're seeing it. What are you learning from the makers? Considering that you've been doing kits for so long, and then this maker community kind of grew up around you, how has that changed Velleman?
I think it has changed Velleman in a way that we have to look at the products that people are using now these days. It used to be where you could just come up with a new soldering kit with a finished product, that people were interested and made it, but that was it. What is happening now is that people want to see a product that evolves and that can change, that they have, with their first part is a basis for the rest of their project. And that's what we see now in the new products that we are bringing out, is more like, this is your starter kit, but you can expand and expand and expand and move on.
Okay, so people want like a long scale project.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or use one simple part for different projects.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we see that also. We brought out, I think, a year and a half ago. It's what we call our Albot range, which is in fact expansions on Arduino and other kits. So it's things that snap together, and the creativity of the people is in fact the limit of what you can do. They can use this one, but they can add 2 together, for instance, to work together. They can add sensors to it. They can build further to it. They can program it in an easy program language. And they can work out the projects on that part. And I think it's also a change. What is happening is we see also the products that we bring out in the last year that are based on more Arduino-based modules or similar. So you just buy it, you click it on, and then you program something with that. This is really evolving quite strongly compared to the more traditional kits where you solder and all the rest there. Our volumes are quite high still, but they're remaining flat. So the idea is kind of the stretch is out of the market, I would say. It's kind of you reach the limit of the number of kits that you can reach in that area. But on the other hand, I think a lot of people now can do a lot of things with their creativity on another way, like programming software, and then they need things that can show what they have programmed. Otherwise, software is just a page with a lot of text and code on there, but it's just on the screen.
It's just a challenge. Do you have like social media, like a Facebook group and stuff, where people can share their projects that they've built?
Yes, we have that, but we are if I would compare to you, what you're doing here, we are just starting up these things. We come from a traditional business where we sold to our retailers, and the retailers sold to the end user.
You were saying your customers. You were saying my customers are like, and your customers were the stores. And I was like, oh no, we don't think of it that way. But you've historically just been only to distributors.
Yeah, historically, we, and in fact, the US is the only exception that we make on that rule. So the US, we have our own sales web site, which is the Velleman Store Inc.com.
VellemanStore.com.
VellemanStore.com. Sorry for that. Where people can buy directly from us. In Europe, we don't do that. In Europe, we have the whole retail chain coming up.
Oh my God.
And we have, it's kind of a barrier in between your customer or your end user in knowing what you're doing with it. And that is something we're trying to build up, or trying to start to build up in how to get more connection with our end users.
I mean, you've got the internet now, so it's not as hard as it used to be. Like, you know, you'd have like a meetups or groups. Now it's like people can share videos or tweets.
That's true, but you have to find the people who can use these media. You have to invest in it. You have to set up everything. I would say compare maybe another company called Kodak at the time, who did Kodak, who did analog film. They didn't do digital, and there's Kodak now, for instance. So it's a big changeover. And it's easier if you start from something and you have to build it up. It's easier than to do it from all the products that we have. You mentioned it already. We have around 14,000 items that we sell. If you have to do all these connections and know what people were doing with that within a limited time frame, it's going to cost us too much money.
Actually, that Velleman store is also came to life because of the maker community. Because we participated in several shows in the past, and we saw several people coming over and asking, where can I buy your products? What we had is that several of our distributors were focused on certain products, but kept it within the, let's call it, older electronics, and we're not really interested in the newer generation of electronics. So that's where we saw we are lacking a service to our end users at this moment. And then to solve that problem, we started with the store. Because people can still find all our distributors on our regular website, the VellemanUSA.com. They can find it there, but then for the ones that don't have a distributor nearby and that want to buy direct, they can do it on the VellemanStore.com. Okay.
But right in the US, of course they can buy online, but also you said you had a couple retailers in the US that people can, so where can people buy Velleman kits?
They can buy them. The easiest for somebody to find where they can buy them is to look on our website, VellemanUSA.com. But there's a couple of bigger ones that we work with all over the US.
Okay, that's cool. All right, so people could wait. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think to mention them specifically, I think the bigger brick and mortar areas where you can buy is Fry's, for instance.
Fry's. Okay, as well, Fry's. Micro Center.
These are the bigger ones.
Those are the big ones, like Jimco. Jimco is
in California. Okay, that's interesting. I think that, you know, what Velleman is known for is their solid state kits. You know, it's an amplifier, it's an FM transmitter or receiver. It's like, it is a standalone thing. And, you know, there's some really nice cases and the instructions and stuff. One thing we're talking about, you know, are you going to continue having booklets with every kit, or do you think you'll eventually move to online?
It's a good question, in fact, because we are moving online. For two reasons. First of all, we see anyhow that our customers are going more and more online also. But the second reason is a pure economical reason. The printer that is printing the booklets is going end of life.
Oh my goodness.
So we have to change over or invest quite heavily. And I think also a booklet within every kit is a thing of the past, definitely in the current world. Unfortunately, we still have some, especially in Europe, some legislation that we need to have some safety information still printed inside of the box. But separate from that, we will move more and more to online. Another bonus for online is that you can even give a better service to your customers, because now you have the manuals, you have to print X amount of manuals. If something changes, then you have to always go, this is that version, but for the newest version, go online. And online, you only have the newest version, of course. So
I also like there's like color photos and videos. You know, it's you know, for our kids that do soldering, we like to show videos of how to solder because it makes a big difference between having a bunch of photos, which are, you know, it's always hard to really tell what's going on, and then a video you can really see close up.
You're correct. I think the world is going video. Even for me, if I want to do something, you go online, you see a video, and you look at it, and you don't want to read anymore through a whole long text in how to do it. So
yeah,
with a traditional manual, you can't do that. So
and visually, it's a lot better if you can do it on the internet.
yeah. One of the things I recently looked at that was neat is there's an article in the New York Times about the BuzzFeed cooking videos that are overhead and there's no speaking at all. They make cookies or whatever, and then there's text. And they speed through some parts that are a little slower to go through, and then they show the details. It's kind of interesting. We're looking at that as a way of doing instructional learning where, you show the first soldering very carefully, but then you just show the rest of them really fast, and then you get to like, okay, now put the enclosure on, you do that slowly, and then turning it on how to use it. So, is there anything else you wanted to talk about with Velleman, that things that you're doing that are interesting, you want to tell the maker community?
Well, I think that first of all we have to see and be thankful for the maker community for that time, because the older generation, let's say the parents now from the young maker community, those were our first customers. They were the ones that built our kits, made their children interested in electronics, and now we see that generation coming up again. And that's why we want to thank the maker community for their dedication for those many years. And also letting them know that we are coming out with some nice new features in the future. And that's going to be mostly dedicated to everything about the maker community. What I mean is that's products. There was already a couple of items that were mentioned, like our new printer that is coming out. But there's also more features we're going to focus on to service that community better, making sure that whatever questions they have, whatever demands they see, that they can have a person that they can tell it to, and that we can give an answer to that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's what you mentioned, and we try to get closer towards the community.
Yeah.
And we want to learn from them. In fact, I think we can have 100 engineers, but if you have 1 million community giving you ideas, you could do much more than with 100 engineers. In fact.
That's cool. And you guys go to Maker Faire, right? I think you've been at a couple of Maker Fairs. What's the next Maker Faire Velleman's going to be at?
We have not done the last one, and we're looking into the one for next year. If we're going to do the one in California again.
California. Okay, so Maker Faire Bay Area, you'll have a booth.
And we're even, but that's purely in Belgium, for instance. We even go to cosplay fairs.
Yeah, cosplay's great.
Because we there have a booth. We have a big one, a big European one, in fact, which is 20 kilometers from where our headquarters are, so it's quite close. And there we have a booth showing some kits and showing also how you can interact with what we have in the cosplay world.
Yeah. 3D printing is great for cosplay. You don't have to mold. You used to have to carve and mold. Now you just 3D print it.
Last year, I heard a story. I wasn't there, but I heard a story last year at that same show. We had the 3D printer printing, and somebody came up and they had printed a whole Iron Man arm on our 3D printer.
Oh, cool.
To show what was going on. So you see there's moving more than just electronics and soldering and doing other stuff with it.
I think it's cool. What I like is, I think, especially if you've been doing this for a long time, you're seeing the range of people doing electronics is growing. It used to be just people who were like, oh, I'm an electrical engineer and I'm an electronics engineer, hobbyist. Now we're seeing people who have all sorts of interests using electronics in their interests, which I think is really neat. It makes the market much bigger and much more interesting.
It used to be electronics was for an electronic person. Now electronics is just a tool for no matter who wants to do something.
Yeah.
Wants to create something, and it doesn't matter what it can be. Can be a farmer, can be a plumber, can be an electrician, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's a good place to be. You guys have like the history and the quality behind you, so as you go into the future, you're going to be well prepared to make what people are looking for.
That's what we hoping for. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. It was awesome to meet you, Patrick and Kristof.
Thanks for having us.
If people want to interact more with Velleman, they go to vellemanstore.com.
They can go to Velleman
USA.com. VellemanUSA.com.
VellemanUSA.com.
Yeah.
So there's one for distributors and one for customers. I keep forgetting.
Or they can go to the Velleman.eu.
Velleman.eu, if they're in Europe.
If in Europe, yeah.
And you guys have a Facebook page?
We also have a Facebook page.
Facebook, Twitter.
We have a YouTube channel also, and a Twitter account. So they're monitored. So if people have questions or ideas, they can put them there and
Sure.
make sure that somebody will look at it.
Okay, cool. And then when you guys do your own video show, because you're saying like, oh, you want to have a show and tell, people will show up and show up their Velleman.
Yeah, and then
budget.
we'll invite you to come over.
I have a Velleman kit at home. I have an old FM transmitter kit that I made a long
okay,
time ago.
perfect.
So yeah, I was going to go to the book and I made the whole thing. That's one of my first kits. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming by. It was awesome. Hopefully we'll be carrying some more Velleman stuff and we'll keep carrying some Adafruit stuff. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very
much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.